Now, we'll be looking at the headlines across Nigerian newspapers now. And to help us make sense of this, two gentlemen who always say, thank God it's Friday. Sesan Okunade is here, chartered accountant. Thank you very much for coming, Sesan.
Good morning, Mike. We always emphasize it. Thank God to have Friday around, at least to relax.
And the youngest lawyer in town, I wonder if he's the youngest lawyer, still the youngest lawyer.
Mike.
Okay, fine. No, let me not go there.
Okay.
Let me not go there.
Okay.
CEO of CKN, Kehinde Nwandu, thank you very much for coming. Nice to see you.
Behind the camera is even the best.
No, actually,
with the cobwebs
and you know, you need very long to clean them up.
To clean it
It's
up.
all right. It's okay. I won't go there now. It's okay. Let's start with Daily Times. Daily Times newspaper is focusing on insecurity, and he says, "Our hope is in God." That is what President Muhammadu Buhari has said. He's quoted as saying, "Our hope is in God so long as security is concerned." New Nation says Oshibajo, that's the vice president. Federal government assures of resolve to reform armed forces. That's the Daily Times. Our hope is in God. All right. From there, let's go to the Nation newspaper. PDP governors, elders head for showdown over Oyinlola. All right. PDP governors, elders head for a showdown over Oyinlola. That's the Nation newspaper. Okay, from there, let's go to the Tribune. Nigerian Tribune. Anxiety in PDP as appeal court decides Secondus suit today. Anxiety in PDP as appeal court decides Secondus suit today. The Punch newspaper is next. Punch says Secondus suit ruling. Uncertainty reigns as 3,600 delegates arrive in Abuja for the PDP convention. Uncertainty reigns as 3,600 delegates arrive in Abuja for the PDP convention. All right. Issues in politics. This Nigeria is next, and it says on national convention, PDP in waiting game. Court reserves judgment for today in embattled Secondus case. No cause for worry. Governor Fintiri is saying this. Okay, that's this Nigeria. Daily Independent. National convention. That's the focus here. Apprehension grows in PDP over appeal court verdict, and we're expecting that today. Party's appeal committee submits report, and our convention will shut down APC. All right, our convention will shut down APC. That's what Fintiri says. Okay. From there, let's go to New Telegraph. It's talking about the PDP convention as well. Power brokers move against ex-generals' men. Power brokers move against ex-generals' men regarding the PDP convention. That's New Telegraph. Blueprint newspaper. 24 hours to national convention. Fear grips party as appeal court rules on Secondus PDP suit. Okay, Ekweremadu Appeal Subcommittee submit report, and Adamawa Bayelsa governors predict APC collapse. Wike, Tambuwal, Makinde, Wu, Mimiko. All right, we saw videos of them arriving Ondo State yesterday, and you know, for that meeting. That's a Blueprint newspaper. Leadership newspaper is next. Rot in education sector. ASUU moves against overseas education for children of the elite. All right. ASUU moves against overseas education for children of the elite. Talking about the rot in education sector, of course. Blames them for fallen education insecurity. Initiates Bring Back Your Children's Bill. All right. Nigeria facing major education crisis. And Anna is saying that. Okay, fine. I believe this is a very good topic for us to discuss shortly when the time opens. Daily Trust is next. Despite poor funding, Buhari creates 30 more tertiary institutions. Despite poor funding, Buhari creates 30 more tertiary institutions. Polytechnics becoming mere constituency projects. ASUU is saying this. Experts want existing institutions revamped, and presidency ministry is mum over all of this. All right, this relates to the story on the leadership, so we'll put them together there. All right, first news is next. Plateau Speaker impeached at dawn returns at noon. All right? This is a case where you say someone has 9 lives, maybe a cat with 9 lives. Plateau speaker impeached at dawn, returns at noon. That's the story on the first news. From there, let's go to national economy. High import forex scarcity fueling cooking gas price hike as experts task federal government on massive investment. Okay, it's another story that a lot of Nigerians would have concern about, cooking gas. From there, let's go to News Direct. News Direct, September revenue. FAC deducts 126.27 billion naira for collection cost and statutory transfers and others. Okay, shares 739.97 billion naira to federal government, state and local government councils, and suspends $418 million Paris Club deductions. Remember that the 418 million is for consultancy and other things that they said, but that has generated lots of controversy around there. That's News Direct. Business Day is the last one we're looking at now. Private funds in fresh bid to reverse Nigeria's $1.5 billion medical tourism. Private funds in fresh bid to reverse Nigeria's $1.5 billion medical tourism. Okay, that's Business Day. All right, gentlemen, let's head into this discussion now. The Leadership newspaper and Daily Trust have very interesting headlines that would make any Nigerian want to make comments on or debate on. Leadership says it's focusing on the rot in education sector. ASUU moves against overseas education for children of the elite. Okay, and blames them for falling education insecurity and so on. Well, CKN, I'm going to start with you on this. The point there is, there is no law that prevents anyone from sending his or her children to study anywhere in the world, as it is. Yeah. However, there has been calls in Nigeria recently, not just now, it started, in the recent years, that children of the elite, or even elite themselves, should school within the country. Education on one hand. You also recall when they were saying that when you have a medical situation, you should patronize local hospitals and so on. All of these things are there. What do you make of this move?
Well, Mike, this is something we've been advocating for long on this program. And we've always said that the only way out of this problem is by making sure that children of the elites or the politicians, let me even not use the elites, because when you say elite, you are talking of individuals who also have money to send.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with me. That's what I'm saying, the private individuals. So you cannot. But we are looking at politically exposed individuals, as we call them, politicians, who are supposed to be people that run the country, quote and unquote. And it's expected that if they have their children in most of these schools in Nigeria, definitely who wears the shoes, we know where he paints. But as it were, on a daily basis, you see the governors going to London, going to America for the graduation of their children. You see ministers, you see senators, members of, and all sorts. And they don't give a hoot because they don't care about what happens here. But another angle to it, Mike, is that within the Constitution, within our Constitution, there are some sections of the Constitution which make certain issues that you cannot take to court. Yes, issue of education. You cannot take the federal government or any government to court to say you are not educated. It is in our Constitution.
It's not justice.
It's justice. That is it. So there are also health and some environment, and so many others. There are so many of them,
and so on.
So those kind of these things. So until we be able to put the government and officials accountable for some of these things. So I think the first point is for us to be able to remove that and make government responsible for certain things, that basic things that they are supposed to be responsible. So if I'm not getting educated, and I know that my parents are paying tax and the rest of them, and even especially the children of the downtrodden, I cannot be able to afford education. Some of the gains that individuals gain in certain parts of the world, education is number one. In UK, once a primary school is given, primary nursery school is given. that they are free. Their children go to school free. So I totally agree. That is one. But we should also look at it from the point of funding. Because even the ones that you have, the universities that you are talking about now, they're not well funded.
Very good. We'll get into that. Let's Sesan react to this, and then we get along. Now, Sesan, the point there is, this call now, how practical can it be? Because some people have their children out there in the UK, in London, America, Canada, and across Europe and all the world, and then eventually they become politicians. If this advice is anything to go by the time one becomes politician, do you withdraw your children back home because that is what is recommended now?
I think where we'll start from is you don't wake up overnight and say you want to become a politician. It's something you must have been nursing over years. Possibly while you're a youth, you have aspiration that you want to be in place of leadership, or you are a civil servant who feels that your input is needed in politics. So if you have that foresight, first and foremost, what are you doing to make sure that everything about you is local and not import based, where you have to send your kids up there? So it will be part of the things we look out for. These days the way we run politics is quite funny. We don't look at antecedents. We just come overnight, somebody share some money to individuals, and we feel, that guy has money, or he has shared money, let's vote for him. What is his contribution before now? Somebody who has spent all his lifetime outside the shore of this nation, that does not feel the bruise how we schooled here in Nigeria, faced with strike here and there.
All right, let me put you on hold a little bit. We'll come back for you to round off on your point. We have some messages right now. You're watching TVC Breakfast. Stay with us. We'll take some messages and we'll be back. You're watching TVC Breakfast. We are looking at headlines across Nigerian newspapers, and I have with me Sesan Okunade here, as well as Kehinde Nwandu, and they've been helping us make sense of some of the headlines that we're focusing on this morning. The Leadership newspaper and Daily Trust are the papers we're looking at right now. The first one, Leadership says ASUU moves against overseas education for children of the elite. How practicable is this? Is part of what we're looking at. And what is giving rise to this calls are some of the issues we're looking at. So you had a point you were making earlier.
Yeah, so on that, the ideal is, if you intend to fight for any position in this nation, we must see that you believe in the nation, not the one that you spend out of your 20 years as a youth. 18 years of it is spent outside the country, and you want to bring in without knowing some of the problem we are faced with. It won't work. So we must have that idea. Then I will now extend it to what CKN said in its view about it, that we go to the constitution to make sure that any politician or political office holder must sign it. Go to Asian country like China, go to US. Have you seen any US citizen person, even citizen, or that will say go to Canada? They domesticate some of the things. Go to China, everything about them is, if as a matter of fact, they encourage their people to speak their local dialect, to encourage them to understand the basic education. So we will look in that area to make sure that we go straight to the constitution. If you must take any political office, we'll go back to the basics. If you have not been part of the struggle, if you have not felt the pain of what we are feeling, you are not, you don't have the understanding of how the shoe pinches us.
No, but the point there is, so if we toe that line, it will also deprive or disenfranchise or reduce or infringe on the rights of citizens who are Nigerians, and by virtue of being born abroad or being whatever reason they find themselves abroad and studying abroad and consulting or living abroad, you reduce their right of coming back home to be part of, because the point there is that you have Nigerians who are doing excellently well across the world. So if we're talking of bringing them back home to be part of what we're doing here, then you also were shooting yourself in the foot.
You know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know my lawyer friend is here. But one thing is, you don't bring somebody who is offshore for years and overnight make him lord over the people that have been struggling. That's my perception. I'm not saying you are going to.
It depends on what you call lord. Because
No,
the point there is,
what I mean is,
yeah, for instance, there are technical areas where you know that when it comes to space science, for instance, you're talking of meteorology, for instance, you're talking about petrochemical, you're talking about engineering and things like that. Of course, when we talk about most modern technology in all of those things, Nigeria is still coming up. So if you have Nigerians who have skill in those things, either in Canada or in China or in Japan or in the United States, wherever, and they come back home, you're bringing them back home to be heads of whatever they need to become to bring Nigeria to that standard. Would you call it lording over?
Okay, maybe I won't say lording.
Okay.
You allow a gradual growth. You don't bring such back home, even though if they are do you know that most of the people that are Nigerians that operate up high there, they walk behind the scene. Is it a crime to walk behind the scene and make things go the right perspective the way it should? What I keep saying is that you must believe in the country, stay within it. That is what we enforce. You know, it's not only education. Health sector too is there.
Yeah. Oh, of course, we agree.
Until we go to the aspect of CKN, of entrenching it in our constitution.
To become participant.
Mike, I think we shouldn't lose focus of the discussion. This discussion is basically on ASUU and the need to have children of the elite or politicians to make sure that they school here. That I'm for. The constitution gives rights to every Nigerian, irrespective of wherever you find yourself, to vie for any position in the country. That we cannot, there's nothing anybody can do about it. There have been instances where even some of our governors that are presently governors and senators, some of them schooled abroad, some of them lived abroad when it came for time for election. I will even advocate for such inclusion because they have stayed there. They have seen the way it works. They should be able to come back and domesticate what they've seen. But what we have, most of them travel abroad. When they see the way things work, they spend their holiday, do everything. Come back home to do that, they will not be able to do it. That becomes a problem. But the issue for me, is that taking it further, what happens now currently is that they know what they are doing. When they send their children abroad, they come out with that certificate from Oxford University, from Cambridge, for what Hull University and the rest of them. They bring them back home. When employment comes, they become the target of employment. You go to the top banks, you go to NNPC, you go to others. They will first of all want to take somebody, employ somebody that comes from Hull University, from Cambridge and the rest of them. Before anybody attended my school, LASU. And that becomes an issue. So they know what they are doing. They know that the value of education, as far as here is concerned, is dropping. So the antics is up. What we need to do, and I totally agree with what ASUU is trying to do, they are going to pursue, but the problem we have is that who is going to amend the law? It's not the same people.
It's all right.
Good.
So it becomes a moral thing.
It is.
Yes.
Now, on the front page of Daily Trust, in addition to that, because I'd like us to also cover this area, despite poor funding, Buhari creates 30 more tertiary institutions. And the ASUU is saying polytechnics are becoming more like constituency projects. Let's cite one in your village. Oh, let's put one there, and in your let's put one there. And in my village,
I'll put any to Obo.
No, I'm saying
maybe we'll consider that after.
Maybe it's still in the pipeline. So what they put my village, I put two there. One in my mother's place, one in my father's place, so that all my and so on. But what do you make of this, Joe? Because some other people have argued that even when it comes to the number of graduates or number of students, when you view the population, we don't have enough tertiary institutions to absorb everybody, to cater for everybody.
Yeah, even the existing ones, it's not a matter of creating more. It's the current one that we have. What are the things that they are releasing? Because you are supposed to develop people to come and contribute to the economic growth and development of the nation. But when we are not even funding the current one we have to give value that is expected, and you are creating more problem than solution that you feel. If the essence of we creating some of these universities or polytechnics is for constituency to feel that, okay, in my town, I have university, I have polytechnic. Then we are not getting it right. The aspect of it is that those things are created to contribute to the economic growth, which we are not getting because of poor funding. We've seen instances that ASUU we have to go to strike, not only because of their own pay, but because they will always request that this area there is dilapidated infrastructure, the students are not having the right frame of mind to stay in the class. The lecture room are over jam-packed. So I feel that rather than creating more, of which you are still going to fund, why don't you create this fund for the existing one to make sure that we get the right value? As we speak, we are not getting the value, and that's why we see instances where people have to resort into sending their kids outside there. Because how do you cope with it that you are in a class that is supposed to be for 100 and over 500 people are there standing, hanging, and the lecturer there's no public address system to even talk to them. He's just talking, and it's only the guys on front that are benefiting from it. I think rather than creating, because those new ones you are creating, you are going to fund it.
Exactly.
Use the fund to develop the existing one to make it more profitable or more viable for people to get value for what they're doing. Okay,
CKN, on this issue now, others are saying, okay, instead of government creating universities, encourage private universities to come up. And that also brings the question as to the quality of education too, because when you go to some of the schools, private schools that we see, you see just one building or two buildings, and they say it's a university.
Mike, we play a lot of politics in Nigeria, and politics have now extended to education. And as you said, it has become constituency projects. The government is more interested in quantity, not quality, and that is a problem. I'm a student of a private university. I'm a final year a law student in a private university. And I know how that system works for now. And I know that these guys are taking it seriously. Education, lectures is top-notch. Infrastructure, top-notch. 21st century system where everything works. Do you know that even during the coronavirus and the ASUU strike,
the school fees is also top-notch?
That is what I'm talking about, quantity and quality.
Okay.
If you are going to Ivy school, you pay.
Yeah.
If you are going to LBA, you've been to even our school here, you pay. You know what I'm talking about? Graduates of journalism school, you pay because you're going to get what what I'm saying in essence is that the private schools will run, those that can afford will go. The public schools will run. But let us not politicize education. And that is what we are doing now. This is key. Polytechnics are particularly down and out, and that is why they are crying. ASUU, federal government promised ASUU in the agreement some few months back, they have not fulfilled that. Colleges of education completely gone. So we're having serious, so we shouldn't play politics with education, and that's what we're saying.
Okay, we have to look at that, and anyway, let's so much to talk about when it comes to education and so on, but we have to end it here now. Kehinde Nwandu, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for the cobwebs.
Thank you. No, that's my eyes. Sesan Okunade, thank you very much for coming.
I will not say anything about
it. Off the mic.
The mic is already off.
Have a nice weekend.
All right, you too. All right.